Those individuals allegedly included high-ranking supervisors in the business, personal assistants, security staff, and household staff.
Every day I'm working on that case. Every day we're figuring something out. Every day we're talking to investigators. And that's essentially what Alex did on this case.
All right, let's move on now.
The courtroom drama surrounding Sean Diddy Combs took an unexpected and jaw-dropping turn when the news broke that Tony Buzbee, the star attorney leading the charge against the music mogul, was stepping down from the case. Picture this: a high-profile lawyer with a larger-than-life reputation suddenly bowing out of one of the most sensational cases of the decade. How does this happen? And more importantly, what does it mean for the dozens of alleged victims who had pinned their hopes on Buzbee's ability to bring justice?
And that's the sad part, because whether it's a real lawsuit or something that you're just shooting to see if you can get some money, you can sue anybody for anything. But the sad thing about it is, if the person loses their suing, nothing happens.
The announcement landed like a bombshell. Tony Buzbee, known for his fierce courtroom presence and no-holds-barred legal style, had been a key figure in the fight against Diddy. He wasn't just representing a few individuals. He had taken up the mantle for over 120 people, men and women alike, who claimed they had been mistreated in ways too horrifying to imagine. For more than a year, Buzbee had been the face of this monumental legal battle, making headlines with his fiery statements and bold accusations. And now, with the trial drawing closer, he was out, just like that. According to court documents, the reason behind Buzbee's sudden withdrawal was a technicality that no one saw coming. The federal judge presiding over the case revealed that Buzbee wasn't admitted to practice law in the Southern District of New York, the jurisdiction where the case against Diddy was filed. Can you believe it? A seemingly small administrative oversight snowballed into a full-blown crisis. The judge wasn't having it and demanded an explanation, giving Buzbee until a specific date to address why he hadn't disclosed this glaring issue earlier. But instead of fighting to stay on, Buzbee chose to step aside, calling it an error in judgment, in a letter to the court. In his letter, Buzbee expressed regret for the distraction his admission status had caused, saying it shifted focus away from what really mattered, securing justice for the victims. He promised to remedy the situation, but for now, the damage was done. He was out. And while he assured the court that his colleagues would continue representing the plaintiffs, the reality was unavoidable. The captain of the ship had jumped overboard, leaving the rest of the crew to navigate turbulent waters on their own.
I think, like I said, for me, I was going to ask y'all what y'all predictions is. For me, if Jay-Z is successful at what he's doing right now, it's going to set a principle for a lot of these type of cases.
The implications of Buzbee's departure were immediate and far-reaching. For one, it sent shockwaves through the team of attorneys working on the case. Let's not forget, Buzbee wasn't just another lawyer on the roster. He was the mastermind, the strategist, the one with the charisma and clout to take on someone as powerful and influential as Diddy. Without him, the prosecution suddenly looked vulnerable, unsteady. It was as if the foundation of a towering legal case had been yanked out from under it, and Diddy's legal team, they were quick to pounce.
She hasn't sort of retracted the allegation she made against Diddy, but according to this, she never made them against Jay-Z without the prodding of Buzbee. This is a pretty devastating document if it's true.
It's interesting now because Jay-Z obviously is going after Tony Buzbee and could decimate him because Jay-Z does have a lot of money. They were right about that.
That's right.
Diddy's lawyers, who had been on the defensive for months, saw this as a golden opportunity. They wasted no time in framing Buzbee's withdrawal as a sign of a weakened case. They even suggested that the plaintiff's legal strategy was now in disarray, calling into question the credibility of the entire prosecution. You could practically see the smirks on their faces as they discussed their next moves. With Buzbee out of the picture, they knew they had an opening to strike, and they were ready to exploit it to the fullest. Behind closed doors, sources close to Diddy's camp reportedly described the atmosphere as celebratory. There was talk of how Buzbee's exit could be a turning point, a moment where the balance of power shifted in favor of the defense. It was a morale boost for a team that had been under relentless pressure, facing not just legal challenges, but an avalanche of public scrutiny. Now, with the prosecution scrambling to adjust, Diddy's lawyers saw a path to potentially negotiate a favorable outcome or even dismantle the case entirely.
Not do this alone. Do you foresee that there could be other charges related to this case?
I'm not taking anything off the table.
No one wants him mentioned.
But let's not forget the victims in all of this. For them, Buzbee's withdrawal was nothing short of devastating. Many had chosen to come forward because of his reputation, believing that if anyone could stand up to a cultural icon like Diddy, it was him. They trusted him to amplify their voices, to fight for them in a way that no one else could. And now, with his departure, they were left wondering if their stories would ever be heard, if justice would ever be served.
A U.S. judge has ruled that the rapper and producer Sean Diddy Combs will stand trial on federal trafficking and racketeering charges in May. He'll be held in prison until then. Sean Combs has pleaded not guilty to charges that he used his business empire to transport women and male workers across state lines to take part in recorded performances. If convicted, he could face a life sentence.
In the days following the announcement, reactions poured in from all corners. Legal analysts debated the fallout, with some arguing that Buzbee's absence could cripple the prosecution's chances. Others took a more measured view, suggesting that while his departure was a blow, the strength of the case itself would ultimately determine its outcome. Still, there was no denying the symbolic weight of his exit. It cast a shadow over the proceedings, one that the prosecution would have to work hard to dispel. Meanwhile, speculation about the reasons behind Buzbee's oversight ran rampant. Was it really just an innocent mistake, as he claimed? Or was there more to the story? Some wondered if the intense pressure of the case had led to lapses in judgment. Others floated conspiracy theories, suggesting that external forces might have played a role in his withdrawal. After all, this was no ordinary case. It involved one of the biggest names in the entertainment industry, a figure with deep pockets and far-reaching influence. Could there have been behind-the-scenes maneuvering to sideline Buzbee? The questions lingered, fueling even more intrigue around an already explosive case. As the dust began to settle, the prosecution faced the daunting task of regrouping. The remaining attorneys had to step up to prove that the case wasn't dependent on one man, no matter how central he had been. They had to reassure the plaintiffs, the court, and the public that the fight for accountability and justice would continue, undeterred. It was a tall order, but there was no time to wait. The trial date was approaching, and the stakes couldn't be higher.
So we've got actually some interesting stories. We're going to lead off with what's going on in that Jay-Z case, which we thought went away. We thought the woman who accused him of with Diddy after the VMAs, I believe back in 2000, had dismissed her case, and you thought it would just go away. It is not. No. It is.
For Diddy, the timing couldn't have been better. Just as the walls seemed to be closing in, with new allegations and lawsuits piling up, this unexpected twist offered a glimmer of hope. His legal team now had the breathing room to recalibrate, to mount a more aggressive defense. And while the court of public opinion remained divided, the legal battlefield was where the real fight would take place. The courtroom drama surrounding Tony Buzbee's departure was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. The ripple effects of his decision would continue to play out, influencing not just this case but the broader narrative of accountability in the entertainment industry. And as tensions mounted, all eyes turned to the interconnected legal battles that loomed on the horizon, drawing in even more big names and raising even bigger questions.
Let's start with Jay-Z. So remember, the woman who sued as a Jane Doe dismissed her lawsuit with prejudice. She said, I will not be refiling this, but a dismissal with prejudice is just that. It's a document that says, I dismissed this lawsuit. It says nothing else. It doesn't say I lied about the claims. It doesn't say anything. It just says I dismissed the lawsuit.
But the fallout from Tony Buzbee's shocking departure didn't just create chaos for the case against Sean Diddy Combs. It sent ripples through an interconnected web of legal battles, dragging in other high-profile names, including none other than Jay-Z. Yes, you heard that right. What started as a singular case against Diddy has spiraled into something far larger, a tangled mess of lawsuits, accusations, and counterclaims that could rewrite the rules of accountability in the entertainment industry. And at the center of this storm, two of hip-hop's biggest moguls, both fighting for their reputations in courtrooms that seem to get more chaotic by the day. Now, let's get into it. The link between Diddy and Jay-Z isn't just about their shared history in the music industry. It's about the overlapping allegations and the legal strategies that have dragged them both into a whirlwind of controversy. Jay-Z's own troubles began when he was added as a defendant in one of the lawsuits tied to Diddy, a lawsuit that claimed the two men were involved in an incident that allegedly happened decades ago. The allegations were explosive, and while Jay-Z has vehemently denied them, the mere mention of his name in connection to such claims sent shockwaves through his camp.
It's interesting because, you know, obviously this civil suit was coming for a while, and there was some talk between Buzbee and Jay-Z's lawyers. I think both Buzbee and Jay-Z's lawyers are really alphas.
What's fascinating about this situation is the role of Tony Buzbee. Before his abrupt exit from Diddy's case, Buzbee had also been involved in the legal battle against Jay-Z. In fact, Jay-Z went so far as to file a defamation lawsuit against Buzbee, accusing him of making reckless and malicious claims that tarnished his reputation. Jay-Z's team didn't hold back, alleging that Buzbee was more interested in creating headlines than uncovering the truth. And here's the kicker. They claimed that Buzbee had pushed for these lawsuits to gain financial settlements, effectively accusing him of leveraging the legal system for personal gain.
I believe that it opens yourself up to some negligence claims. Again, I don't know if Jay-Z is going to go that far, but certainly I think it does open himself up to some negligence claims. Maybe that was part of the reason why he dismissed with prejudice. I don't know.
But it doesn't stop there. Jay-Z's lawsuit against Buzbee also brought in private investigators, sworn statements, and a whole lot of drama. According to court filings, Jay-Z's team argued that the accusations against him were not only false, but deliberately fabricated to extort money. They even cited inconsistencies in the accuser's story, pointing out that key details didn't add up. For instance, one of the claims involved an alleged incident at a music awards after-party, but Jay-Z's legal team presented evidence that he wasn't even at the location described in the allegations. It was a legal chess match, with both sides making bold moves to outmaneuver the other. And then there's the matter of the unnamed accusers. In one of the lawsuits, the plaintiff withdrew her claims, citing fear for her safety and concerns about being publicly identified. But even as she stepped back, she maintained that her story was true. Jay-Z's team, however, argued that her withdrawal was proof that the allegations lacked merit. They claimed victory in the court of public opinion, framing the dismissal as vindication for their client. Yet the shadow of the accusations still loomed large, and the case remained a hot topic in media circles.
She walked away, got no money, got nothing. Over. And Jay-Z celebrated that, the fact that, we should say, and it was filed by the lawyer who has filed a slew of lawsuits.
What's particularly intriguing is how these cases have become intertwined, not just legally, but in the public imagination. Diddy and Jay-Z are two of the most recognizable names in the world, and their reputations have always been part of their brands. For years, they've been seen as untouchable figures, icons who transcended the music industry to become cultural powerhouses. But now, they're both facing battles that could redefine how people see them, and perhaps even how they see themselves. Diddy, for his part, has been dealing with an avalanche of allegations that go far beyond the initial claims. Since his arrest last year, more cases have been filed, each one more shocking than the last. The accusations paint a picture of someone who allegedly abused his power and influence, creating an environment where harm and intimidation were allegedly tools of control. Diddy's legal team, of course, has denied all wrongdoing, calling the allegations baseless and vowing to fight them in court.
Now, this particular defense attorney's reason for quitting wasn't really a reason at all, making his departure a lot more puzzling.
And yet the evidence piling up against Diddy is hard to ignore. From the videos that allegedly show troubling behavior, to the testimonies of individuals who claim to have witnessed or experienced harm, the narrative is undeniably damning. One of the most talked about pieces of evidence is the surveillance footage that CNN aired last year, showing what appeared to be a physical altercation between Diddy and his ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura. The video, dated back to 2016, has become a central point of contention, with Diddy's lawyers claiming it was altered and manipulated. Yet it's hard to argue with what the footage seems to show, a moment that speaks volumes about the dynamics of their relationship. Cassie's lawyer has dismissed Diddy's claims about the video being doctored, calling the argument disingenuous and expressing confidence that the footage will hold up in court. And let's not forget, this video is just one piece of a much larger puzzle. Authorities have conducted raids on Diddy's properties, seizing items that could potentially be used as evidence. The sheer scope of the investigations is staggering, and it's clear that the legal teams on both sides are preparing for a battle of epic proportions. Meanwhile, Jay-Z is taking a different approach. While Diddy's legal team has been on the defensive, Jay-Z's camp has been more proactive, going after accusers and their lawyers with defamation lawsuits. This strategy seems designed to send a message. False claims won't be tolerated, and those who make them will face consequences. But it's a risky move, one that could backfire if new evidence emerges to support the allegations against him. For now, though, Jay-Z appears confident, maintaining his innocence and focusing on clearing his name.
Period. Okay, so last hour when we left off, you had asked me, did Tony Buzbee respond to Jay-Z?
Yes.
And he did. So he responded 2 ways.
What's fascinating is how these cases have drawn in so many other names, creating a web of interconnected legal battles. From Diddy's former associates to individuals who claim to have been directly or indirectly affected by the actions of both men, the list of people involved keeps growing. And then there are the corporate entities, companies and brands that have worked with Diddy and Jay-Z over the years. Some have distanced themselves, while others have remained silent, waiting to see how things play out. The stakes aren't just personal, they're financial, reputational, and cultural. But what's even more alarming is the growing conversation about the role of enablers in these cases. Whispers of high-profile individuals who allegedly looked the other way, or worse, actively participated, have begun to surface. Could there be other powerful names that might be revealed as investigations deepen? Speculation is already running wild, with insiders suggesting that some of the biggest players in entertainment and business might have to answer uncomfortable questions. The idea that this web of accusations might implicate more than just Diddy and Jay-Z is creating an atmosphere of unease, with many wondering who else might be dragged into the spotlight. Adding to the tension is the recent revelation that several of Diddy's former bodyguards and staff members have reportedly been subpoenaed. These individuals, once part of his trusted inner circle, could potentially provide damning testimony or, conversely, help bolster his claims of innocence. The stakes for these witnesses are high. Some face their own legal risks, while others may feel pressure to protect their former employer or distance themselves entirely. The courtroom drama is about more than just the defendants. It's quickly becoming a stage for everyone who was once part of their orbit.
Buzbee is saying, I did that not because we want to shake you down, but because you tried to scare my client, so she wants to come out swinging too. She's not backing down.
At the same time, legal experts have pointed out just how unusual this entire situation is. Cases of this magnitude spanning years of alleged incidents, multiple jurisdictions, and involving such high-profile defendants are almost unprecedented. The complexity of the legal strategies being deployed from defamation lawsuits to countersuits has left even seasoned attorneys marveling at the spectacle. It's not just a legal battle, it's a public relations war, a test of influence, and a battle for survival in one of the most high-stakes arenas imaginable. And with every new twist and turn, the stakes only continue to escalate. As the legal battles continue, one thing is clear. This isn't just about Diddy or Jay-Z. It's about power, influence, and the systems that allow certain individuals to operate unchecked for so long. It's about the courage of those who come forward with their stories and the challenges they face in seeking justice. And it's about the broader implications for an industry that has often been accused of turning a blind eye to troubling behavior. The next few months will be critical. Trials are set to begin, and the outcomes could have far-reaching consequences. Will Diddy's legal team succeed in discrediting the evidence against him? Will Jay-Z's defamation lawsuits deter future claims, or will they open the door to even more scrutiny? And what about the accusers, many of whom have risked everything to speak out? Will their stories be heard, or will they be drowned out by the legal maneuvering of powerful defense teams? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and stay tuned for more as we dig deeper into this story.